Hello everybody. As I'm posting this, there are only 50 days until ARTFIGHT begins, which is July 1st. To say I have a lot of prep work to do is a complete understatement, so I figured, why don't I document my process and upload YouTube videos about it? This short series before ARTFIGHT begins will contain me talking about the fight while I draw in the background. My goals to finish before ARTFIGHT are on the screen now, and every video I will slowly eat away at them, even though there's a lot. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the history of how I got into art and ARTFIGHT. I could just start at ARTFIGHT, but the background video is 30 minutes long, so I'll start at the beginning. If you have an answer to this topic, make sure to leave it in the comments. I will read it. My story starts in around 4th grade whenever I discovered Gacha Life. I made my first Gacha Life OC called Moonlight. She produced purple electricity, she was purple and she was a fox. Pretty much, I would just imagine her to all of these Gacha Life songs, as Gacha kids often do. I even featured her in a few videos of mine. She was kind of like my persona, but she didn't have any friends at first. She kind of just would run around with filler characters that had no features. And then I decided to make her a small group of friends, her supporting cast. I called one of them Sunset, another Skylar, and there were a few more who were unnamed, or I just don't remember their names. Over time, Skylar became my persona. I didn't know how to draw yet. I do remember that I made a drawing of Moonlight and Sunset, but it's lost to time, especially after my house burned down in 2021. Or maybe not 2021, 2020 something. I don't know, I don't remember. But that's besides the point. I love these characters. They existed in my head at all times, and I actually pretended like they were speaking to me a lot of the time and giving me advice. Eventually, I landed with around 10 whole characters that, at this point, I don't even remember the names of. These OCs actually stayed around for quite a long time until I got into astrology science, which was surely an interesting period. I made an OC for every sign, and they all corresponded with the colors of what their sign was. I don't even remember the names of all of them now, but Pisces was my favorite because that's the star sign I have. This star sign arrow was the only deviation from the original OCs, and I will explain that. See, I'll use Moonlight as an example. Moonlight has evolved very much over time, obviously, and depending on how far you want to stretch it, one of my OCs today, called Hayden, very much resembles what Moonlight was. I will sometimes say that I've had the same OCs since then, because they evolved over time and became what I have now. Hayden still has electrical powers. He still has the same personality that Moonlight was supposed to have. There's a few differences because I'm older now, but whenever it comes down to it, they're kind of the same thing. Moonlight was a humanoid character that was kind of a hybrid of a fox, but eventually she turned into a fox, and that's how we get from human to feral, because Hayden, of course, now is a dragon. Over time, this character Moonlight changed names, but kept the same idea as she was originally, and now she's changed so much that she is considered Hayden in my mind. Other characters also have similarities. For example, Sunset is now Sunheart, and she's kept the same personality since not long after she was made. But that's besides the point. I just wanted to make a little note before I tell you how these characters evolved. Anyway, at this point, we have Moonlight the Fox, Sunset the Fox, Skylar the Fox, because I really liked foxes, and a few other animals that came from the supporting cast. In 2022 or so, I transformed them into anthropomorphized animals, so we had the 3 foxes, who would be Timid, Meek, and Cruel, which is what I changed their names to. Timid actually managed to stay around, and that's why my username is kinda Timid. The 3 foxes were siblings in some sort of way. They had lore to them that made them technically not siblings, but I don't really remember it anymore. They were my main characters, and I just fell in love with them. I really did try to draw them. I based a whole Minecraft world around them, and this is when I finally started actually making a universe and world building. They lived in a place called the Miracle Lands, and they were like rulers. All three of them were. And they went through different like scenarios, and they had different friends. Eventually, I ended up scrapping Meek and Cruel and kept Timid around. He was a red fox. He wore a blue, like, technically military outfit that I made, but he wore it all the time. Timid was a general, just main character. He had a little bit of a personality, like that he was the king and he was timid, obviously, because that's his name. But other than that, he didn't really have any personality traits. He was my persona at the time, and he will evolve into Fire Dancer. The fox Cruel was scrapped, but I did kind of repurpose him. He became Zero, who would become Haydn. Zero was a black fox that wore a blindfold, very 14-year-old edgy, like, character. He was evil. He lived, like, in this outer world. He controlled time and space, and he was the main antagonist to Timid. I would also like to note that these were my Dream SMP OCs, too, so I loved the Dream SMP at the time, and I imagined my characters as Dream SMP members, so not very important, just a little note. Meek would become a bodyguard. He was very serious, and he took his job seriously, and that was kind of his only personality trait. He would eventually become Lightning Leap. Honorable mention to Quill. He wasn't a part of the main cast of characters. He was a cat, and he wore this, like, archer hat, and his thing was that he was an archer, but he would eventually become Ice Hawk, which is my current favorite character. There were a few more characters that I could correlate to current characters that I have now, but I can't exactly remember the names of them. I had like a whole Google Doc of who each character was, but that is lost to time, unfortunately. This Timid group stayed around for a really long time, actually, about a year, and which is a long time for me. And I had like this whole thing planned out. I even started writing like a chapter book, which I got like 5 chapters in, but much like everything else from this time period, that is lost to time. This, though, is not exactly where my drawing journey starts, but my drawing journey does start in this time period. I wasn't good enough to draw Timid. I'd never liked how he looked because he's supposed to be a fox, and I wanted him to like have fluffy cheeks, and I really cared about how I portrayed him. But what I didn't care about how I portrayed was the actual Dream SMP members. I would draw J Schlatt most of the time, and I can probably put some old art up that I still happen to have. He was my favorite, and I drew the character that he played. I also started animating. They were just like circles with scribbled out eyes and sometimes other like bandages on the head or something like that. These weren't OCs, they were just really easy for me to animate at the time, so that's why I had them. Eventually, I wanted to animate some OCs, which is how I made my Weirdcore OCs. This was probably when I was in like 6th grade. I made these OCs that had bees as heads, or eyes as heads. I made 2 total animations with these OCs, and really they weren't that developed. I made them just for animating and because I liked Weirdcore at the time. It took a long time for the Timid group to be phased out, but eventually they were, and that was probably when I was in like 7th grade. Oh boy. I'm gonna mention this for the sake of being historically accurate to my art and OC journey and how I got into ARTFIGHT, because this does directly relate to the OCs that I have now. But just know that this is not a time period that I'm exactly proud of. Anywho, for some context, I was in this Discord server, with a few people who were primarily white, which is relevant. I am also white, and I wanted to make these OCs, and they were supposed to represent people who came from, like, everybody in the world. At the time, I thought most people came from Africa, and I had 4 of them, and so 3 of them were black. Now, this was fine. This is not the issue here. But I shared these OCs in the Discord server, and they told me that I was racist for having too many black OCs because I'm white. They said that I shouldn't have that many OCs that aren't a race that I am. For some reason, I don't really understand this mentality, and looking back on it, I can only assume that they just didn't want me to have black OCs because they were racist themselves. Now, these people, their OCs, followed that like, character type of, like, every single thing that would make a character diverse in one character. So looking back on it, they were definitely racist to a point, but unfortunately, I listened to them, and I didn't whitewash them, God no, but I did make all of my OCs non-humans. So, luckily today, they are back in that exact form, and they have retained their races, so nothing's really changed, but, I just wanted to mention that little sector of my OC making journey that, is a little bit shameful for me. But anywho, I turned them into non-humans. There was a zombie, his name was Carl, he would become Ice Hawk. There was a dog named Steve that would become Fire Dancer. There was a skeleton that would become Lightning Leap. I got rid of Sunheart completely for a while, but he came back as this character named Chester, and this was whenever I started making human OCs again. So, not long after I made Chester, I transformed the other three back into humans because it felt weird having the only white guy from the time be the only human, but now they are back as humans. And this is the most direct form of who they are now. I gave them their names, which would be, you know, the two subject names that they have now, like Icehawk and Sunheart, and I gave them magical powers, and this pretty much is who they are now. There's no more real updates other than a few minor ones in personality, but yeah. And then the dragons also came from those non-human OCs, but it's a little bit more, I don't really care as much about the dragons as I do the humans, to be quite honest. And this is when we start finally getting into ArtFight. To rewind a bit, I found ArtFight in 2024, which is still when I was making the Timid OC. I saw a bunch of TikToks about it, mostly from Seafoam, because there was a huge rallying effort on TikTok with Seafoam to try to overcome Stardust, despite how many more players that Stardust had. In the end, they unfortunately did not win, I believe, but at the time, I really thought that they were going to, because I only saw their videos. I saw all of the mass attacks that they were making and all the art that they were making for the other team, and I was kind of interested. I didn't take the time to look into it because I was too busy watching Dream SMP and playing Minecraft, but I was interested. So whenever it came back around in 2025, well, I decided to join. Kind of. I didn't decide to join at first because my art wasn't good enough in my opinion, which, just to clarify, any skill level can join ArtFight, clearly, because I did. Until like, about June 26th or 27th, I decided to join, and I had to make all 8 reference sheets within those, 3 days. Oh yes, I'm looking at my ArtFight right now. I've created my first character on the 26th, but I didn't start drawing until the 27th. I uploaded my first reference sheet on the 27th at 5 in the morning. So, there's that. So as you can see, I was staying up very late to make these ref sheets. I did manage to get them all out before ArtFight, but, this habit of staying up very late to make this art was just the beginning, really. How I did not know what this would turn into. I forgot to mention this in the next section, but throughout the duration of ArtFight, I stayed up until 4 in the morning to make the attacks. That's just an explanation of what I was talking about here that I forgot to mention. I uploaded my final ref sheet on July 1st at 1 in the morning, and then I went to sleep a few hours later. I woke up the next day after, well, I guess the same day, after Art Fight had begun. I was surprised that the site hadn't gone down because I heard that it like went down for a week one year, so I was expecting it to be down for like 4 days. But it didn't. And that's when I learned of the like owner switch and all that stuff that happened in like 2023, I think. So I began Art Fight. My first drawing was of a worm character, and I drew him picking flowers, and I actually thought that it was kind of good. I made all of my attacks on paper first because I couldn't draw digitally just yet, so I had to draw them out on paper and then put them into IBS Paint, or, I had to put them into IBS Paint through the import picture button, and then I would trace them and then color them in. So every single attack took like 2 hours, which was way longer than it needed to take. I'd also want to mention before that my attack goal was about 50. I wanted to make 50 drawings. So make your guesses now for how many I actually ended up making. Later that night, I actually got my first defense, too. It was from it was a revenge of my first attack, and I really liked that defense. It was way better than my attack was, to be quite honest. And I was surprised that I had actually gotten attack because I wasn't expecting to get any. The cycle of Art Fight continued. I made attacks every single day. I stayed up very late. I have a lot going on in July. I have a beach vacation, an all-star marching band thing, which, by the way, when I did go to that all-star marching band thing, I didn't draw a single time during it, and it was like 5 days long because I was up from like 7 in the morning to like 9 at night, so I wasn't really drawing during that time, which certainly did not help my goal. And then I have band camp the other 2 weeks of July, so my July is kind of packed, but I still managed to do quite a bit of attacks. I'll tell you my statistics now. So, I was on Team Fossils. My battle ratio was 78.13. I had 3,533 points, a total of 100 attacks. 62 of those were normal, and 38 of them were friendly fire, and then I had 28 defenses, which was quite a lot for the quality of my art. So, if you guessed 100 for the total attacks for some reason, you would be correct. My art did get a lot better over the month. I attacked the same character at the beginning and at the end of the month, except the end was like a bust up, and it was him with like lighting, and behind him was the sunset. And it was kind of like supposed to be like this cool, like, look at how far my art has come since the beginning. And it was pretty effective. I remember I was on call with my cousin whenever I made the attack, and I think he was like playing Minecraft or something. And I finished the attack, surprisingly, at like 9 p.m., and then I went to sleep at like 9 p.m. So, I guess my sleep schedule was kind of fixed, I guess, at the end of it. But, anywho. So, I spent a lot of time on making attacks. I believe I spent around 168 hours just in the IBIS Paint file, because I included an all-one file, which doesn't count how many I, spent drawing it on paper. So that's a lot of drawing, but I actually didn't get burnt out from it. After Art Fight, I started drawing like almost immediately. I gave myself like a week break. But I did start drawing immediately. I participated in Inktober, kind of. I made my own prompts because I didn't like the prompts of the official one that was released. So I made my own, and it was pretty much just the characters in various Halloween costumes or performing Halloween activities. I did what most people who do art do, and I just drew random things pretty much every day. I started doing art trades whenever I felt like my art was a little bit better than it was in Art Fight, which I'll show a comparison on screen of how my art was before and after July, just to show exactly how much I improved. And the picture that I probably will show will be Sunheart's ref, and that was made like right after July ended. So my art is better now, I hope. But anywho, that brings us to around this point, like a month ago maybe, where I began seeing Art Fight TikToks again. Wow, what a joy. I certainly do love Art Fight, so I was of course consuming every single one. I took a picture of my profile name to post under people's comment section so that they would follow me, and I think to this point I have like 100 followers and like a bunch of bookmarks that I'm going to sort. I think sorting the bookmarks is actually one of my tasks. I've already made a few things for this art fight, actually. I have made an animated PFP for every single one of my characters. I have made one attack animation so far, and that is of Lightning Leap. Small note, when I say attack animation, I mean I drew one of my OCs attacking like a mannequin. I'm not making attacks before art fight starts, don't worry. I just wanted to clear up confusion. And I've made a random character little GIF to put on my profile. I have made a profile card to comment on other people's TikToks. And that's about it. I still need to make quite a few things, and I guess that brings us to the point now. So I'll talk about what I want to do for Art Fight 2026. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. My general goal is around 50 attacks, but I might edit that to characters attacked, because I plan on doing a mass attack where it's kind of like the FNAF Ultimate Custom Night screen where you can see like all 50 characters. I want to do it like that, but not just FNAF OCs. And then, so that's obviously going to add quite a bit more characters attacked than attacks made. We will see how it goes. So I plan to do that mass attack, which, by the way, if you want to sign up for it early, leave your username in the comments and then specify that you want to be in the mass attack, and I will look through your characters and I'll probably bookmark one. But I will be posting TikToks about that eventually. And then I want to do a few like character interaction attacks, but I want to do them as comics. I did character interaction attacks last year. I want to have my profile completely organized for this year, which I'm still very much working on. I want to keep my battle ratio above 50%, and I want to revenge every single attack that I managed to get. Outside of revenge chains, of course. I am open to revenge chains, but usually people don't want to do them. I would like to be able to animate a few attacks, but I don't know how far I'll actually get on that. There will probably be only like 3 if I actually do it. We'll see. Also, I guess it's a good time to mention that after Art Fight last year, I had 3 goals. One of them was to learn to animate. That was the main one, and as I've just mentioned, I have animations all over my profile. So that one is completed. The next was I wanted to finalize my OC designs, which, for some context, I made all of my, what's it called? I only made all of my official OC designs for this character right before Art Fight last year. Of course, they existed as concepts, and I had like a general idea of what they looked like, but I didn't have their like full design yet, so I didn't really have much time to think about what I wanted to include in their design. And now there are many changes between each character. One of my characters, Axel, has stripes now for one, and is a completely different color than she was before. She also has like a few magical things, but yeah, so needless to say, that one is complete. And then my third one was to learn how to draw digitally without having to put it on paper first, which thankfully I have completed. So I also want to make some goals after next Art Fight. but I'm not going to make them yet because I want it to represent what skill level I have at the time of the end of next art fight. My username, by the way, is kinda_timid, just like my YouTube channel, and I have all 8 of my characters up, and I think that you should definitely go check them out because they're really awesome. For the remainder of this video, I want to take a moment to show off everything that I've done in this week of prep, which is technically the week of 57 days before art fight to 50 days before art fight. So I've done a few attack animations, which should be playing on screen right now, as well as I wrote a bunch of lore. I plan to finish that today so that I can cross those things out, but today is not currently the day of 50 days until art fight. That's tomorrow. So I will upload the checklist, like overlay the checklist tomorrow, and then you'll see an actual progress update of everything I've done for the video. And I also wanted to take a minute to show off my art fight account. It is Tuesday. Unfortunately, I will not be able to draw anymore because I do have a concert for band today, so I am doing my, checklist a little bit early, and here is everything that we got done. I made the art for the YouTube. I am gonna put out 1 YouTube video, so that'll go down to 6. I made, hi Stripes, I made 4 attack animations. I'm not done yet with general lore writing, but it's pretty much like there's like 2 sections and then I'll be finished. So I can't mark that one off yet, but absolutely for next time it will be marked off. I have, though, done the profile organization. And I think that's it. Yeah, that is it. And the biggest thing here was the attack animations. They definitely take me a really long time. Like some of this other stuff, like the lore writing, I can do that all in a day. I can do those 4 things in one day. But yeah. So believe it or not, I did get quite a bit done this week. We will definitely get more for next time because I will have more time this week. And yeah. So that's it. That's pretty much what I got done for my 50 Days to Art Fight week 1 video. Make sure to come by next week to see my next 50 Days to Art Fight video, which will actually be 50 Days to Art Fight. Like, week, 50... Day 50 to day 47 will be the next week. No, it isn't. It's day 50 to 43. I don't know how I got that wrong. Yeah. See you next time. This is editing me. I completely forgot that I wanted to go over some of the topics that I was gonna speak about in the other videos. These aren't set in stone, but I will, say what they are. The next one is gonna be TikTokization of Art Fight and what I think will happen to Art Fight because of TikTok. And then the one after that is why I don't think an all-year Art Fight would feel the same, and why a second one could work, and also why July just isn't a very good month to do it in. Another one will be features I want to see in Art Fight and features I don't want to leave Art Fight. Another one will be just all about the Art Fight drama from last year, including the mass attacks and that one Art Fight misogyny video from last year, and the ice cream person. And then I'm going to have a few more. One thing I want to cover is the difference between a beginner artist attack and a low effort artist, which kind of ties into the ice cream person. If you don't know what that is, I'll get to it. If you happen to make a few ice cream attacks, I'm probably not talking about you. Because I posted a video about that and everybody was like, oh my god, I thought you were talking about me. It's probably not you. No hate to that person. I liked their idea. But anywho, that is actually the end of this video. I'm gonna put up the final art that I made for the YouTube video on screen, just so that, you know, everybody can see what I did in the background. Because I don't know if the full 31 minutes and 34 seconds or whatever it was will get filled out by the rest of this, but yeah, I'm sorry for the bad quality right now. It's like I have to go to the concert in like 30 minutes, so I'm not really spending a lot of time worrying about the audio. I'm sorry for the audio in the video in general. I'm not a very good speaker, but anyway, you should subscribe or whatever people do on YouTube. Like the video, okay? Bye bye.